Yo guys, what is good? Welcome back on the Uncle Sharma channel, here today for a match preview of Inter versus Atalanta. And I'm joined today by a actual channel member, someone that's, decided to join and support the channel, Amedeo. Thank you very much for joining me all the way from the US. There's a little bit of like a 1 or 2 second lag when Amedeo talks, so let's just a little disclosure there. But thank you very much, Amedeo, for joining me. How are you doing?
All right. Thanks for having me. I'm good. Thank you.
Thank you very much for coming on, and tell the people how, your story of how you kind of became an Interista.
Yeah, I guess my dad and my uncle in Italy were big fans in the like 1960s when they had the big revolution and the Maratti family and the victories. And so my parents moved to the States and we maintained a close rapport. And so I picked up Inter, when I was a teenager and never let go. There was the only option for me. So
Yeah, well, once Inter picks you up, you can't let go, can you? Pazza Inter.
yeah, it's you can't go anywhere else. That's for sure. Just black and blue, black and blue.
Yeah, and as you can see behind Amedeo, he's got a great setup. It's probably better than my setup. He looks like a professional YouTuber.
Yeah, I had to set this up, so you know.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you done really well there. Yeah, we got the regulars in the house, Razor of Orion in here. We got Abu Bakr who says Atalanta is always a tough game. We hope we pass this test. Definitely. Jesus Christ in here. Well, White Suburban Kid and Nix Knox. Amedeo, how are you feeling about this season until now? Obviously we know what happened in the summer. Conte leaving, Hakimi leaving, Lukaku leaving. We've played, a few games now. We've had the Champions League game against Real Madrid. How are you feeling about Limone Inzaghi's Inter?
Well, I think that he is a different coach, and he has schemes that are more offensive, and sometimes I think it may be a little bit more leaky, as well. So, but it's exciting. We would stall out in games, like this upcoming, Champions League game. We would stall out and not be able to do things. I think we get in the area sometimes in numbers and with dangerous players, and I think overall the team can be as good, but I'm not sure if it has the resilience, as last year. We're going to see, because we're going to have quite a few, like 4 or 5 big fixtures over the next month and a half or so. So it's going to be bang, 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 bang.
Yeah, very, very busy month up ahead. I think is going to be the test, the real test for Inzaghi. What did you make of Inzaghi before he came to Inter? Did you like Inzaghi? And was he your pick if you had to pick a manager?
Yeah, I mean, definitely I admired Inzaghi. I like him, in some ways I like him much more than Conte. I never had the feeling for Conte, but of course you always have feeling for victory, and so I think overall, I think what is interesting about him versus Conte is he actually evades all of the questions of the media, just like Conte, just in a different way. He kind of acts stupid a little bit, but I think both the Inzaghi boys were, good to great players, and he's done so well. Like I think it was 6 seasons at Lazio and come through the Lazio system, and I was happy they went after him when Conte left. I mean, it really wasn't a surprise that Conte left because he was unhappy, but he's just not going to make for trouble. Just imagine what we've been through in just 2 or 3 months. And he's never said a word, so it's a different personality, but I think he can take it to the next level. He's won a few Coppa Italias, Super Coppas. I think he can do it. I think that his teams tend to be a little bit streaky, though. At least Lazio, they can get in a mood and just win everything, but then they can kind of slide. So we'll see if that tendency, happens.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think you wrapped it up very very well there. His personality wise is very different. The way he handles the media is very, very different. It's quite refreshing actually, isn't it? Like going from Conte's like uh outbursts and attacks against his own club at times to this guy who's a lot more calm, But we've seen on the pitch, though, he's got probably just as much, if not more, passion than Conte. You know, you can see him screaming up and down the touchline. He hasn't had to scream too angrily yet because we haven't had, you know, particularly bad performances yet. But I can imagine halftime against Fiorentina that he was fired up in that dressing room, Limone. Yeah, Keshav, don't worry, you're not too late at all. We only just started 5 minutes ago, just asking Amedeo his thoughts on early on in the season and of Simone Inzaghi. And now we can move on to what we're here to do today, Amedeo, which is preview the Inter versus Atalanta match. What's your thoughts going into it? I'm feeling quite positive going into this match because of our form coming into this, and because of Atalanta's form coming into this, because they have been kind of stumbling at the beginning of this season, even though they are still right up there in the table, but they haven't looked good to me, Atalanta. What do you think?
Yeah, I think I mean agree. They kind of had some late wins, which is odd. They don't really have their mechanisms turning as much, but I think that they're well known on what they do, and so if you can figure, and Inter has had fairly good results against them for a few years now.
Yeah.
Even though they are so dangerous. But I think it's a good time to have them. They obviously have what it takes to make a difference in every game. They're a type of team that could win any game, almost going to the final or the semifinal, the quarterfinals, the Champions League. And but they, I guess 4 or 5 years ago, we just got shellacked by them once, so I always kind of like have a fear, like I got slapped by them once, but they have those outside guys that come in, and then they have the forwards that rotate back in, and this rotation system. They're very dangerous. I think Inter's in decent form, so it's a good time to pick them up. But we'll see. This is the highest level team that we're playing, other than the Champions League game against Real. So this is a real test, I think, coming up. But we're playing at home too. That really makes a big difference. So
yeah, for sure. I agree with you. It is the first big test for this Inter team in the league after Real Madrid in the Champions League, and yeah, the form against them has been, mixed over the last couple of years. As you said, that was that one thrashing that we took in 2018, the 4-1 defeat away. But then since then, we've kind of turned it around. I remember them always being kind of like a bogey team back like early on in this decade. But then the last couple of seasons, we've turned it around. Majority of them have been draws, quite cagey affairs, as they were last season. Last season, we remember the winner at home was that Skriniar goal from the set piece. And I'm expecting a similar type of match, really, quite cagey affair. Quite tight. I think it's going to be, a very tight midfield battle. And yeah, Atalanta, as I said, even though they've not looked good when I've watched them, they still are up there with 10 points in the league. So, it only takes for them, to get a few more wins, and they're right up there challenging for the Scudetto. And Gasperini, as we know, that guy, I listened to his interview earlier, his press conference, and he was talking about, oh, we're not Scudetto contenders. Don't put us up there. We're just here to, we're just trying to get to top 4, like really underselling Atalanta, underplaying themselves. But, they've had a good mercato. They brought in Juan Musso. They've brought in, Zappacosta, Demiral. Like they haven't lost any big players. So they've actually improved their team. So he's playing mind games, old good old Gasperini. And he's always got something to prove against Inter, doesn't he?
Oh yeah, I mean that was a year. It was too bad he didn't work out, or that. And the funny thing is we're loving the three at the back, 5 in the middle, and that was his system. And Inter at the time didn't think they could do it. They lost or tied all their games in the first 5 or whatever, and they got rid of him. There are 2 really nasty managers, and it's Conte and Gasperini. I mean. They will, both with players, they both carry a knife, is what I'd say. But I think that Atalanta, I don't think they will modify what they do to face Inter. Obviously, against Sampdoria and against Fiorentina, we have suffered from this high pressure, and they run a high pressure, but it's slightly, I think, different than that what's really caused us problems. So we need to just improve in those aspects of getting the ball, either booting it if we don't want it, or opening up to each other. Particularly when they go one-on-one or defense with our midfielders, we seem to really suffer. So I expect a very a strong team, but that isn't necessarily as black and white about the pressing. Not that they'll sit back at all. I mean, but I think the key with Inter and its victories has been putting them on their heels a little bit. Obviously, scoring goals, but getting up in numbers and not just suffering against them.
Yeah. And Nerazzurri now says he remembers the Ashley Young goal in the 1-1 draw. Actually, that was in the 2-0 victory. The 1-1 draw was Lautaro, and then I think it was Miranchuk, I think, scored for them. But when I think back to the last few matches against Atalanta, I remember especially the one where we won 1-0, we sat back, Conte, that was the time that we started playing a little bit deeper, and we really, sat back and counterattacked Atalanta. Do you think that's I think that's the way forward when you play against Atalanta? You draw them forward, you let them kind of have the ball a little bit, and then defensively, I think those guys, especially without Christian Romero in the lineup, I think they can definitely be exploited defensively. What do you think?
Well, I think that we won't. I mean, I don't think we are all out attack, and I think we will kind of sit in and try to get the possession. But I think it really, it may come down to these little touches, from Barella and, what Brozovic shows up and, and maybe, how well Çalhanoğlu is playing as well. He's, I've seen some complaining that he hasn't had but one good game, and I think he's added a lot of quality. I mean, I said that in a previous episode of your channels. I think he's added a lot of quality, but he played a little more up the middle with Milan, and now he's a little more to the left. And yeah, I think we're just going to have to display the quality we have. We go man on man. I think we are even to better than them in most positions, but we're going to have that possession quality and less than sitting back.
Yeah, and then as Eminem Production says, as you said, is always going to be Atalanta were the pioneers of that man-to-man, man-oriented pressing that a lot of teams now, do in Serie A. Juric's Torino do it now. We saw Fiorentina doing it. Like the Atalanta were really one of the first teams to do that, and they will do that physically. As my friend here says, they are physically superior to us, but. Yeah, Inzaghi has to come up with a better game plan this time around to get around the pressing. Obviously, with Conte, the way around that was get the ball long to Lukaku and hit them on the counter attack with his pace. So we don't quite have that, get out of jail card that we used to have with Conte. Oh, hit it to Hakimi or something like that. But at the end of the day, there's not much you can do when if Atalanta come and press like Fiorentina did. I've never seen pressing like that in my life. Like the way Fiorentina pressed in the first 25-30 minutes in that match, that was crazy like that. And then that's why the second half was so different, because they just didn't have any juice left in their legs anymore after that kind of crazy pressing. And yeah, we're not as fast on the counter attack anymore. And it looks like going into the team news as well, it looks like one of the guys that could have offered that kind of pace on the counter attack once again is going to be missing. Tucu Correa, who got his injury against Bologna, took part in training today. I saw some pictures of him in training, but apparently he is not going to make it for the Atalanta match. Maybe he might make it on the bench, but very unlikely that he'll play any part. So he's back to the Edin Dzeko, Lautaro Martinez lineup up front, and yeah, that does not have the pace to worry, Atalanta in behind. And that's why, in my opinion, Amedeo, I don't know what you think of it in the chat. Of course, you guys let us know as well. Dumfries on the right hand side. I feel like this is the match that Dumfries needs to start. What's his name? Darmian Mati Dom started the last match. I was surprised actually. I thought Dumfries would have started that one, and then Darmian comes into this one. But now that Darmian started that one, I really want to see Dumfries start, because his matchup against Robin Gosens, I think, will be fantastic. Two physical beasts, two absolute specimens going up against each other. I think he's the guy that will be able to handle Gosens physically and also worry Gosens in going the other way. We've seen what Dumfries can offer going forward. What do you think? Do you think Dumfries should start or Darmian?
Well, I mean, I'd like to see it. I think that sometimes you go with a known quantity, so it could happen, that they start the more known quantity, but Dumfries is, now that we're seeing him up close he's fast, he can jump, he has good technique, he has a good sense of tactics to hit the short passes and just play and know when to go. So he brings a lot of danger along with certainty. I'm just not sure, where what's going to happen as far as the starting lineup. I think right now he's definitely playing 2/3 of a game or a third of the game. He'll regularly play because those are the energy positions. Along with Perisic and and it seems like our boy Mateo is back on the left-hand side. So anyway, he has, I think he can step up a level, whereas some of our other players, like when you compare us to Real Madrid, they all have the speed and the nature, and maybe it's the system you get in the Netherlands, in Holland, to play fast, and he's got all those traits to be a very good player for a long time. So it's an interesting signing. Obviously, he's mid-20s, so he's really hitting his stride, I think, from all of those aspects. But again, I don't know if he'll start. It wouldn't surprise you at all if we saw Darmian, would it?
Yeah, you're right, because the Sky Sport in Italy, they have Dumfries starting in their predicted lineups, but they had him starting against Fiorentina as well, and then Darmian started. But I feel like, because the way it seems like Inzaghi is rotating a little bit with the wing backs, I feel like Dumfries will start. What about the other side? Ivan Perisic looks like he's the favorite to start on the left hand side. And for Atalanta on the right hand side, apparently it's Zappacosta looking to be the starter. Would you go with Dimarco? Would you go with Perisic?
Boy, I really like DeMarco, so it's kind of hard to, as a fan, to not want to see him play. Perisic, I think, has made a step above this year compared to what he did last year, really understanding. But I feel like he's freed a little bit more to get down the line and get through. And, he's been attacking, like more the Perisic, we knew. And I think that DeMarco a little bit suffers physically a little bit. I mean, he's not a huge guy, so I'm not sure, Atalanta is a good place for him. But he's just, there are those players that a lot of times on the left foot, they're just magic. I mean, obviously he's at a free kick, and he could be a goal in extra, and in a lot of games. And he is just playing selflessly. So it's really hard to predict. I think I would rather have DeMarco, but I'm not. Obviously, we're not making the call. So.
Yeah, no, I agree. That's the only thing I'm worried about with Dimarco is his lack of physicality and defensively speaking as well. But I feel like we need to test him out in one of these matches. Like, I want to see Dimarco in one of the big matches. Then I think we can make a decision on him finally. Can he pass, like, the Quadrado test against Juventus? Or, here, maybe Zappacosta's not the greatest right back, but you never know. There could be Mela, the Danish guy, could be starting there for Atalanta as well. We know he's dangerous going forward as well. So I'm happy with Perisic starting, because he gives me a bit more certainty when it comes to physicality and defensively with the height as well. But Di Marco, what he adds, as you said, going forward is we've seen like he's really really good going forward. Di Marco's biggest shortcoming, despite his impressive left foot, is his unwillingness to take his man. He mostly passes man. Yeah, and that's because he doesn't have the pace, the lack of physicality. That's what we're talking about. He doesn't have that. Even though he's sure, he's not really, quick off the line. He's not. He doesn't have like great dribbling skills. He's really all about getting that half a yard and try to whip the ball in, or try to play 1-2s and things like that. So he relies on his technique rather than his physical ability. So that's why I think it makes sense, in my opinion, to start Perisic in this match, and for his experience as well. Like Perisic, we know he likes to turn up in the bigger matches as well. I think in that sense, I'm happier with Perisic, and you can always bring on Di Marco in the second half, as we've been doing very often this season, right?
Yeah, I would say that like DiMarco, in some ways, it's strange, but he can kind of like really lead or dominate from that side. I mean, it just it's unusual to like because of his possession orientation, and also his crossing and passing. He's kind of, when he's in there, a lot of stuff is coming through him. Whereas like Perisic can disappear for 15 minutes or 20 minutes. So anyway, I think they're decent options, both options. I think that Perisic has made an unbelievable improvement in who he is as a player and covering that role. But in the same way, DiMarco is making that level up. You could see DiMarco as being maybe potentially a leader in the national scene, for some time. So we have a lot of positions, good depth, and I think better than we've had. So it's looking good, and a lot of it is this, coming through the ranks, like the Bastoni, him. We got Barella fairly young when it was obvious he was a good player. Lautaro brought when he was about 20 or 21. So those guys are all getting into the form of, something can still continue to be created here, as far as a legacy in because so much is good in so many positions.
Yeah, no, definitely. Di Marco, that left back spot in the Italian national team, I think, is up for grabs now that Spinazzola's out for a while. And even after Spinazzola, after the backups of Spinazzola are not that good. So I think he can really, as you said, become an important part of the Italian national team. I think he can make it to the World Cup for sure. Goran asks, hello from Croatia. Hello. Thoughts on Perisic in attack? No. We saw last year Conte used to play him there a few times. I just think he can do the job. Like, we saw against Fiorentina at the end of the match, he played up front and then he ended up getting the goal. Again, just because of pure physicality wise, his height, and he's got decent movement. He can play that role, but he just looks lost up there. I don't really want to see Perisic up there in the striker position. What do you think, Amedeo?
Yeah, I think that when he first arrived at Inter, we're talking about 4 or 5 years ago. I remember an interview, with him, and he said, they said, "What is your position?" And he said, "I'm an attacker. I'm an attacker." So, I think that he can do it. I think he's got a lot of the skills. I think he can also be Uomo area a little bit, if it gets teed up for him or what have you. But it's. I would, obviously we're all chomping at the bit to see the young Uruguayan, the
Satriano,
and I don't know if he's going to be just probably riding the bench unless some injuries happen, like Correa now. This may be his chance even this week to get in, but it's more likely that Inzaghi is going to play it safe. Like he slid him over in Fiorentina for 10 minutes or so, and then he made the sub, and put he put Sanchez in, I believe, and took him out.
But as you said, he's an attacker, but like that, I don't think he's a striker though. He's and now he's definitely, I think now that's his position now, the left wing back position. I know he still plays as a winger for Croatia. When he goes to play for Croatia, he still plays as a an attacker, but on the wing. So I hope I don't see Perisic up there. As you said, I'd rather see someone like Satriano get given the chance if Inzaghi is really desperate for numbers. But we've got Sanchez coming back now. Alexis, we saw he looked good when he came on against Bologna. He looked good even when he came on against Fiorentina. So I'm expecting Sanchez to start playing a bigger impact in this team. And yeah, as you mentioned earlier as well, Amedeo, and I've been on this Hakan defense league position recently because I just don't understand all the slander that Hakan is getting. And I think he should be. I mean, especially as since he's missing, Vidal's missing, he's definitely going to be starting. But do you think, as Tommy asks here, do you think Vecino is knocking on the door for a start? I personally don't think so.
Vecino's already kind of crept into the lineup, playing quite a bit. So it's somebody you can tell Inzaghi has some faith in. Vecino's obviously that box to box threat. He can get up, he gets up, he can get headers, in the box. And he's, traditionally he would still be a little bit sloppy in possession, so that I think we really hurt when we lose possession. It created a lot of problems, but overall, I think he's somebody to be trusted. It's kind of strange because we go through these market cycles, so we go summer and we've got our cards that we want to get rid of, like Vecino, let's let him go to Napoli, or, let's get rid of Perisic and we get whatever. But the coach gets the team, and really, I think we under-evaluate people's talents. They're there for a reason. It's just too easy to just discard somebody. But again, is as far as Hakan goes, Hakan has a lot of quality. I mean, you just see it. He is Milan played so differently. They play so differently. Is they just dump forward, from the left, from the right, they just are blindly running up as fast as they can and try to get across or what have you. And Hakan was pretty good at putting for a year, putting a lot of stuff in, and he did well. So, who can really score? I mean, he's a danger to score. How much would a Vecino or another player be a danger to score?
Yeah, exactly. And I don't know if it's my kind of always feel like I go, to support these kind of players that get slandered a lot, or is like kind of my contrarian in me where I have to go against the grain sometimes. But it was last season, I remember Perisic was getting a lot of flack, and I felt like I needed to, defend Perisic. And by the end of the season, he was the one that took over the left wing back spot over Ashley Young. And I feel like Inter fans should just give Hakan some time. He's adapting to a new role and a new team. They should just give him some time. And he's come on a free transfer, as awesome or random stuff says it. I don't know what people really are expecting. But going back to the Vecino discussion we're having, I think Vecino is definitely ready in terms of starting a match against the easier teams like a Bologna match. But in these bigger matches, I don't think so. I think this game last year showed what you need against Atalanta, and that is technique. We saw Inter started that match. If you remember, we started with the midfield of Brozovic, Barella, and Vidal. Vidal was the surprise inclusion in that match because Eriksen was becoming an important part of that team. And then in the second half, Vidal we just didn't take control of that midfield. And then Eriksen came on, and the match changed as soon as Eriksen came on because we started to take control of the team. Atalanta, the only way you get around the pressing is by playing good football, technical football, accurate passes. And I think that's why someone like Hakan has to start. In my opinion, I don't think this is a match for someone like Vecino. Vecino can come on in the second half as he's been doing, offering that threat, as you said, with his height, with his heading ability, with his late runs into the box. But as Gerald says, he can start, but not against Atalanta. Going back to the Hakan, partially comes from his interviews. He's very arrogant, unlike Eriksen. Yeah, there's definitely a very, very different personality-wise, actually, it's a good point to bring up the interview that he had today, Hakan. Translated here by Sempre Inter. So they interviewed him, Corriere dello Sport today, and he said, he said, and I give him credit because he's very, very shameless about it. He said, Inter are a good team that won the Scudetto and more derbies during my Rossoneri experience. I chose to come here because in my career I like to face new challenges. And then he also added that he would celebrate against Milan if he scored. If that happens, I'll celebrate as always. This guy does not care. And honestly speaking, I quite he's endearing himself to me with this kind of behavior.
Yeah, he's definitely a talent. I think he has struggled in the Euros as well. He didn't have just Turkey did, and then he did as a consequence. It's something that we, without Eriksen, we didn't have, in those, attacking midfielder, the mezzala positions. You need somebody that can unlock with the pass or what have you. He is not a speed demon either, but he has good feet and plays well. And, I think, I don't know. Do you think he's gaining confidence? I mean, obviously from what he wrote there, I think that he's fit in very quickly. I think no problems there. So.
Yeah, and it seems like once some of these guys start talking some trash like Handanovic was doing the other time, maybe that's the fire that gets them started to perform better. So I feel like he's gaining confidence in the team. I mean, he didn't have the greatest game against Fiorentina, but then he turned it around in the second half. I think he knows how important he is on set pieces. Definitely already, like we've seen what he's done with the Skriniar and Dzeko already. That's really an extra weapon that we have in our arsenal. In our arsenal now. J-Herb, thank you for catching me live finally. Liam in the house as well. But moving on to I wanted to quickly cover a bit of Atalanta as well. Is there any players in particular that you are watching out for? Gerald was talking about obviously Malinovsky, Ilicic, Musso. Or is there any player that you feel like is a standout player for Atalanta?
Boy, I think in the last game they had both of their exterior, the Zappacosta, and Goosens both scored. It's always hard to tell. I mean, Malinowski has that wicked left foot that's amazing, and both on shots and what have you. Pessina has one. He is always busy, and he's getting the box, and they have they play up. They definitely play up. If these players, Zappacosta, what did he do at Chelsea? Almost, but he's adjusted, and and the Tolois can always be. For me, Atalanta, it's just pick a card. That's the one that's probably going to make a difference. But Malinowski's the player that I always see him when they're playing. When he gets onto the ball, it's just like then he starts moving. It's amazing. What they get for players and the level of talent. They get players with very little brand name. They don't have much brand name, but then they perform up to the everything else that everybody else is going off of. So they've had an amazing side, but we'll see what happens tomorrow. I want to stop them all.
Yeah, of course. And obviously that the main man Zapata, as we know, this summer it's pretty much been confirmed by multiple sources that he was the number one choice for Inter to try to replace Lukaku, but Atalanta wanted too much money, obviously, quite rightly so. But over the years, I've not really ever been too worried with Zapata. I remember most matches we seem to really have him. Our defense really manages him well. In the last match, I remember Skriniar especially having a really great battle with him and winning the battle against Zapata. But you always have to, the sheer physicality of the guy. You can never, sleep on the guy. And as you said, the wing backs is a big part of Gasperini's play. The last match a goal each for Zappacosta and Gosens. So you have to make sure that whoever's playing wing back tracks their runs, because these two will run into the box. They will get into the box. So you have to make sure that the runners are tracking the runs. And then in defense, here it puts Palomino, but some other lineups have put Demiral in there. So we'll see. But I think the defense has always been a little weak part of Atalanta for sure. But they've upgraded in goal now with Juan Musso, who's, he was my choice for the long-term replacement of Handanovic. So it's very painful to see Musso there. They only bought him for around 18, 20 million euros, which I feel like is a really good price. So he's definitely one that I'll be watching closely to see whether was he the right choice in the end, or was it just kind of a little overhype or whatever. And Pessina, as you said, busybody, gets in the box, late runs and stuff. But it could be in that position. It could be either him or Ilicic as well. To be fair, most lineups have Pessina, but it could be Ilicic. But again, even with Ilicic, he's a player that I love to watch. But against Inter, he never seems to really turn up. So I'm fine with either Pessina or Ilicic starting. And Muriel is a big injury miss for them. Muriel last season was that guy that they used to bring on 55th, 60th minute. It was like the guaranteed substitute that Gasperini made for Zapata. And, Muriel had that crazy goal scoring record of having I think a goal every 85 minutes or something crazy like that. So he's a very big miss for them, Muriel. And he's actually probably, I think, one of the big reasons why Atalanta have struggled at the beginning of the season. If we look at their, let me just bring up the stats for the team. Atalanta known to be this, free scoring, super attacking team. But look how far down they are this season in terms of goals scored. I mean, obviously we're very early on in the season, but only 6 goals scored until now, averaging 1.2 goals per game. We're pretty much tripling them. In terms of shots on goal, we're second, and Atalanta are all the way down here, 11th in the table for shots on goal. Very un-Atalanta-like. They're also, there was another one that I wanted to see. Obviously we know Inter high up in terms of goals scored from headers. And in terms of possession as well, they're quite, 12th in the league. Then they're not really holding the ball much as well. They really struggled at it. I watch Atalanta quite a lot because I enjoy watching Atalanta in past seasons, but this season they haven't been enjoyable to watch their matches. They've been slow, sluggish, not many goals. What do you make of Atalanta this season? Have you tuned into any of their matches?
Yeah, I think that they're maybe. I mean, that's been the thing that we've been hearing is that they're slow to start. And
we've got Malinovsky here, coming into the chat.
Well, it's I think that there's something to soccer evolves. And like 5 or 6 years ago, all of a sudden every team was pressing, playing higher. I think that started with Mancini for us, and it really changed the game fundamentally. But I think that more teams are aware of that sort of pressing, used to dealing with it, play it out of the back, play it long. So they've lost the mystery around that team was, oh hell, we're playing Atalanta this weekend. It's gone a little bit, but they're gonna ratchet down and improve. I just maybe they're lacking a bit of depth. I mean, we saw there was an extra defender, there was extra person, but they may be, I don't know, just a little bit predictable that we know what they're gonna do. So and we're used to dealing with it too.
Yeah, but they usually do start quite slow in the season as well. That's the thing with Atalanta. They always seem to start off slow and then they go through a period where they just go, on a crazy run. So I don't want to call them out. Yeah, but in my prediction, I've put them 5th. Where would you? Because I feel like this is going to be their drop off year. It's the year of stagnation. What do you think?
Well, I mean, you see so much quality. I mean, it's always hard to discount Juve, even though they're down there. You have Napoli, us. Who else is doing well? Milan,
Roma.
Roma. I mean, the Seven Sisters, as they say. I, I have a hard time believing that they won't be in the top three, at the end of the season, just because of their recent performances. But they could, definitely slip down a little bit. But they're not as addicted to the money as we are. We need that top four place, or we've got nothing. Even in the oddest of years, I can't believe that we are now in our fourth Champions League in a row. We had one under Spalletti, two under Conte. Obviously, all disappointing. Four in a row. We've been back. We've been back. Since Spalletti got us through. And maybe just a shout out to Spalletti. Ex-coach. He's got Napoli absolutely raging. As good as we ever saw it. In the past. So it's always so hard to see the different mixture. Oh, we need players. Oh, we need the coach. Oh, we need this. And they're playing in that. They're going to be a tough. I mean, obviously they're 5 out of 5. Plus they bought that forward, and he didn't play. Didn't play last year, but this year he's getting into it. So there's Osimhen is So anyway, I think Atalanta always formidable. Would we be surprised if we don't get the result? Probably not. Is this the time of year where we're just going for results, or we're going for improvement? I mean, for Atalanta, they need to improve.
Yeah. No, I think I wouldn't be mad if we get like a draw, or even like, God forbid, even if we lose, I wouldn't be mad, because it's Atalanta and it's still early on in the Inzaghi process. So I'm not going to be, panicking or, really mad. But a win is really, really important right now, just to keep the momentum going, to keep that confidence up, to keep, the haters away, to keep all the negativity from the summer away. And especially, the likes of, as someone pointed out earlier, Zapata, who might feel like he was rejected by Inter, maybe. Someone like who might have that little something to, that extra motivation to play against us. But overall, actually, I think I feel confident in this game, which is weird. I don't usually feel that confident against Atalanta, but I feel confident just because of their form. Atalanta, it's not been great, but I can see us getting another. It's going to be another tight one. There's been goals in Inter matches this season, to be fair. I think all the matches have had at least 3 goals, I believe. But I think this one's going to be a less scoring one. I think I'm leaning towards something what Kelvin said there, like decided by a set piece, like another Skriniar, or maybe De Vrij this time popping up, someone from a set piece, Hakan or Di Marco whipping one in, like a 1-0 win for Inter. That's what I'm going for.
Yeah, it's just so, this is very hard to predict. All these big games are always like this, but we couldn't have things really in a better form, with their form not there and us cranking in goals or whatever. But we just know we're going to have to tighten up to stop that, stop that team that just can come at you in so many ways. But
it could be the match that they will finally wake up, Atalanta.
And another thing is, we're a team that we seem never out of a game, like that. We've been scored on several times, and usually we've had our attacks already, we've had our chances, and it keeps coming. This is high octane football going on right now. I mean, we can't have 18 goals in 5 matches. But you got to regulate that. So I don't know. Anyway, and we talked about that earlier, that just sometimes the Conte team would stall out in sections of the season. And, we'll see if Inzaghi can just keep turn and burn. So.
Yeah, no, we'll see. I'm excited about it. So I'm going for 1-0. What are you saying, Amedeo?
I like 2-1 Inter at home.
Who's scoring?
Well, I didn't think Dzeko was going to play, but obviously with Korea out, I would say a double from Lautaro.
Hey, El Toro Martinez. I've got him in my fantasy Serie A team, so I hope he scores.
Okay, I think you'll do well.
Yeah.
2-2 Zappacosta Malinowski.
Yeah.
We'll saw down Zappacosta's legs. He won't even get close to the
I mean, there's another one that was close to Inter. He was rumored to be potential replacement for Hakimi, and I was very much against that. I'm happy that we in the end we got Dumfries instead of Zappacosta.
Yeah,
So he might be another one who's like kind of wants to show Inter what they missed out on.
Yeah, he had those injury years, after playing so well at Roma and then getting to Chelsea. He played for a while, and boy, I mean, we want all of the Chelsea handbacks. It's
Yeah.
like
Any Premier League, all the Premier League rejects.
Yeah, so that's true too. We'll make them shine. So
yeah, and yeah, we need Handanovic to be in the form that he was against Bologna and Fiorentina, which I think now he will be. I think he'll continue this form until at least the international break. Well, what do you make of the whole Handanovic situation, by the way?
I think that I was really hoping that we would get somebody that would be his heir. I'm not sure about the existing lineup, if they can really, Radu can take over. I think he would do fine, but it seems like I see this a little bit with Vidal. Vidal suffers from just a little bit of slowness, with he gets closed down and then he has to like boot it away. And it's the same way it's that quick passing. It's that one-on-one
snappiness.
Yeah. But this was 4 shots that he just smothered and really kept us in the game. What you need from a keeper. So he just faced a different type of thing. And all of a sudden we're like, we were like, oh my gosh, what we've been talking bad about this guy, so he's a shot stopper. I think he can still stop shots, even though sometimes like there'll be a ripper against him. He won't even move the hand over, be like, he's, but I think it's more the one-on-one and the passing is just the reflexes are showing, I mean, that's for 2 years now. We know that. So, but the guy's he's a monster, isn't he? I mean, is he a huge guy? He's a presence in the box.
Who?
Handanovic is a presence in the box. He's not a Perrin sort of goalkeeper,
No, he's a big figure. But yeah, Amedeo, that was the preview to the Atalanta match. I enjoyed that. Thank you very much for coming on.
All right, let's get some. It was nice for those people to participate, and I'll send this out through my links, and we'll look forward to seeing what happens tomorrow.
Yeah, I'm gonna be doing a watch along tomorrow. So if anyone wants to join in tomorrow, I'll be doing a watch along 5 p.m. UK kickoff time. And yeah, if you want to follow Amedeo, I've left his details in the description below and everything like that. He's on Twitter, Amedeo. And yeah, Amedeo, make sure you need to respect when you're on this channel. You respect Arturo Vidal, the Mohawk King.
Well, he's had I think a rebirth this year, and he's playing well. I saw him suffer, like sometimes when we played younger teams, more athletic, more quicker passing. It was just like it was. I don't know. Who knows what was happening with him last year? It's not.
Yeah, he wasn't quite 100% fit, I think, for most of the season last year.
And he wanted to stay, absolutely. So let's make sure he wins another title. What do you think?
Yeah. Second star on the way.
Yeah, that's right.
I like this score from Freddie Boss. 2-1. Dumfries destroy Gosens. I would like to see that. That would be. Then I'm fully. If that happens, I'm fully on the Dumfries train. I'll buy a Dumfries shirt if he destroys Gosens. As Amedeo came on today, if any channel members wanna come on the channel, is an open invite, even to non-channel members. But I'm gonna give the priority to channel members like Tommy, who's joined up recently as well. So if you want to DM me, bro, if you want to come on the channel.
Thank you,
Tommy. So thank you everyone that's joined. Thank you everyone that's commented. Make sure you guys leave a thumbs up on the stream before you guys leave. See you tomorrow for the watch along and the post-match reaction. Ciao ragazzi, forza Inter.
Sounds great.